Hey friends, we are right in the middle of canning green beans. We canned 13 quarts last night and we hope to finish these off today. Thought we'd bring you along with us. It was showing what we've got here, Bentley. We've got that. We've got some more over here that has not even been washed yet, but these are the ones we're going to start on right now. I had the whole family helping last night. That makes it a whole lot easier. So come along with me and we're going to start canning. A special shout out to the Jackson and Cox family who gifted me with this great apron, and I have such supportive friends. It was so nice of them, and I was very shocked when I received it and made me have some tears in my eyes. I just thought it was very sweet, and thank you guys so much. Let's get started. I have my jars have already been washed and sterilized. They are sitting in hot water here in this tub in the sink waiting for me to fill them. I'll empty that water out. And then over here, we have water boiling on the stove right now in this pot. This is what we'll pour over the green beans. Now, I am raw packing my green beans. I am not hot packing them. So I will not be blanching them. Of course, this is my green beans we're going to put in the jar. What we're going to do is fill the jar with the green beans, pour the hot water over those green beans, get our lids on them, everything wiped off. But before I start filling them, somebody gave me a little trick and I'm going to try it. Now, I did not do this on the ones yesterday, so I left some of these a little long, and I'm going to try this little trick that I found out. They said to lay them on their side, your jars, and lay your beans in there and you can get more in, because when you are cold packing, raw packing, whichever one you want to call it, here's the only problem with that. You lose some space in your jars. If you can see, they're just loose when you raw packed instead of being so tight. Now, I have not unsealed these yet and washed my jars up because that's not been a whole 24 hours yet. But we're going to go with this, laying these jars on the side. Now, another thing is today, these are mostly wide mouth. Today, I'm trying to use up all of my regular size mouth jars because I like saving my wide mouth jars when I'm doing meats and things like that, pickles or something that you have big chunks in. So I want to try to get the rest of what I have of these green beans packed into some regular mouth jars. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my jars over here and show you exactly what's going on. All right, so I'm laying this jar down on its side, and we are going to give this a whirl and see if it works out. I don't know if it will, since I'm using these smallmouth jars. I really have my doubts about this, y'all. I think I'll end up just cutting these beans like I have the rest of them and going ahead and filling the jars like I've been doing. Sometimes trying new things just don't work out when you're in a busy day of canning. And after this, I've still got pie filling, apple pie filling I'm going to be doing this week. And then I'm going to be making some cowboy candy. I'll try to take you guys along for some of that too. At first, this seems like it would just take way too much time, y'all, to do this. I really don't know. Now, like I said, if I was using my wide mouth jars, maybe not so much, but this really, I don't think I'm going to like doing it like this. But it was a way to leave your green beans kind of their normal length, and they look pretty on a plate when you put them out and they're nice and long like that. I just love them when they're on a plate like that. Like if you're doing green bean bundles or something. But most of the time, we love our southern food, and most of the time we cook our green beans with some little onions and some bacon and bacon grease anyway. So we like to let them simmer for a long, long time, and they don't look the same then long anyway. So this, I won't do another jar like this. I will go ahead and cut the rest of these and do just like I have been before. But we'll go ahead and get this one in there. I feel that one jar like that, guys, but the rest of them I've gone ahead and broken my green beans down about 2 inches. Last night I had some quite a bit smaller than that I can, but I really don't like them when they get too tiny. So I've also switched sides, and I'm canning on my left burner over here, and it's one of the ones that has the little eye or the big eye. I'm trying this out. I hope this works out because it's much easier for me to film with you guys being able to see when I'm over here. So we're going ahead, filling this jar up with these regular size cut green beans. Now, some books that you read and some people you watch will say cut them an inch big. Some will say 2 inches. I don't know. I know it's probably better, like I had said before. You can get more in your jars and more bang for your buck, I guess you'd say, if I did have them doing a hot pack. There went a bean flying through the air. But I just, it's just too much. Sometimes I just want to get them done. And if you had just maybe 1 canner load too, it might be different. But when you're canning a larger batch, I prefer to raw pack them. What I'm doing now is pouring my boiling water over the green beans. And this is supposed to have 1 inch of head space. And before I measure my head space though, I'm going to go ahead and get the bubbles out. You want to always make sure you debubble whatever you're canning. Now see, I've also moved those around a little bit, and I can cram a few more green beans in there now. I've got my daughters over here breaking these up behind me because we were going to try to can them whole. Since that didn't work out, I've got a breaker, a bean breaker. Now I've got to get a little bit of this, hang on. Now I've got just a little bit too much water here for my inch of head space. And remember that inch of head space, or whatever head space that it calls for in the recipes of whatever you're canning, is quite important. So, you know my favorite thing to tell y'all, that's important. And we've got our inch exactly. So we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and wipe my jar rim down with some vinegar. Get my lid. And I've never used this kind of lid before. I am out completely of regular mouth lids. So we're going to give these a whirl. And this is going into the canner. The canner I have, the Presto 23, will hold 7 quarts. So we've got 2 in there now. We got a ways to go. I'm going to dump water out of them over here where I've got them hot. Get my funnel in. Break that one just a little more. And I'm just using my clean hands to fill the jars with because there's just about no other way to do this. If I wanted to get done today anyway. Shake them down. Okay, now let's see what we got when we, oh, that one's a little long still. When we get our boiling water going here. Well, we had bush beans that we grew this year, but they didn't do that great. And so we went and found these beans at a real good price for canning, and my daughter decided she was getting quite a few since they're, you know, fresh vegetables are hard to come by this year that at a good price. Now, you can get them all day long, but you're going to pay dearly for them. And I hate having to buy them to can. And yes, you could go over to Aldi's or somewhere and get you some jars or some canned and can them yourself, or pre-canned food, factory canned, but I'm telling you, it's just not the same. I love knowing what goes in my food, and I just love the process of canning as well. So we prefer to do this to put away for our pantry. Now, there's nothing wrong with going and getting you some good old canned green beans, and if you cook them right on the stove, some of these we put in the refrigerator last night, and they've got some brown spots after I pulled them out this morning, so I'm having to break those off as I see them. But if you cook your green beans right, even if they're from the can at the grocery store, they'll be good. And what we do is we saute some onions, sliced up real small, saute our onions and some bacon, because bacon makes everything better, doesn't it? Southern style green beans. And the key is when you put your green beans in there, don't put a bunch of juice in there with it. You want your green beans to go in with very little juice or water out of that can. Now we drain all the canned water, and then let them simmer for a long, long time. You want them to just simmer down. Simmer down. That's the way you cook some green beans to make them taste like they're home canned. And that's how we cook our home canned ones as well. And of course, they're good in anything. Put them in your soup. It's almost soup season, guys. Nothing like some good home canned soup either. All right, another jar going into the canner. Now my canner water is hot because we're putting hot jars in there. We poured this, my jars are hot. My jars are hot, which means I had to make sure that also my canner water's hot, and I put the boiling water over the can, so over the jar. So make sure that your water of your canner's hot. Don't put your hot boiling water filled jars into a cold canner full of cold water. You're gonna have problems if you do. Now, I've thrown green beans everywhere, but y'all know how I roll. Okay. My breaker is steady breaking some, and I'm putting them up here just about a jar full at a time. I'm grabbing another jar, and I shall be right back over here. Got a green bean on the floor. Green beans everywhere. Yeah, how did everybody's gardens do? Well, I don't know where everybody that watches me lives. I know a lot of people are local, but a lot of our friends local had a disappointing garden this year. We had so much heat and so much drought for the longest time. Now, we are having luck with a few things, and I'm telling you, my herbs this year, my herb garden, we had some overabundance of herbs, but as far as our beans and our tomatoes, we didn't have that great of a crop. There's always next year, folks, always next year. Of course, we went away because of a funeral. We left town right in the middle of a drought, and that's when our garden turned downhill at that time, folks. But it made a comeback, and at least we get to eat. Was just not a whole lot to can out of it this year. So here we go, putting our boiling water on. I do believe I forgot to put salt in that last one, but when we open them up. Now, you do not have to salt whatever you're canning like this. We, like I said, season our foods anyway with our bacon and all that, but I do usually go ahead and put a teaspoon in each one, but I know for certain that I just forgot to put it in those last two that went in. But that's all right, because we always give a little taste test to everything we're cooking anyway before we set it on the table. And I suggest you do too. I believe I can fit some more in this one. When you're raw packing, you will tightly, and I do say tightly and mean tightly, pack your jars. But now if you were going to hot pack these, well, there's another bean. See, I don't know if y'all can even tell that or not, But when I pulled them out of the refrigerator, the ones that didn't get canned last night, they had some brown spots that when we put them in there, didn't have. Or I didn't catch them. But tightly pack when you're raw packing. When you hot pack, you don't want to do that. Debubbling to make sure that we don't have any bubbles in there. Checking our head space. That's good. And now we're going to wipe our jar lid, our jar rim. This also, of course, when you do this, you'll know if the last chance to catch any little chips on your rim, because it is possible to, I've missed them before. And I always, of course, look them over good, but it's possible to miss a little chip on the rim of your jars. And here we go. Into the canner. Okay, we have 4 in there. I'm going to get 3 more, and then we're going to turn this canner on. So guys, I'm putting the last jar into the canner. Now you can see I've got them packed really, really tight right now. But when I pull these out, if you'll look at some of these, you'll notice they're a lot looser after they can. So you can choose whether you prefer to hot pack or cold pack. It's just much quicker doing this raw pack. Now I'm pouring my vinegar in, like I told you to do before. This keeps your hard water from getting all over those lids. Got to put my lid on. Now I hope, y'all, and pray, I have never canned, like I said, on this dual burner. If you know what I'm talking about by dual burner. The one that has the little eye inside the big eye, and you can either use the small part of it or the whole burner. Here we go. We're gonna try this on this burner. Hopefully it works out, because it's so much easier when I always work from my right to my left most of the time. So when I'm filming for you guys, I'm always wanting to, and then I've got my water. If something has to be a water or any kind of syrup or anything that gets poured over it, it's always on this other side. So we're gonna try this. Now I've let my water heat up, and we'll have to have steam coming from this little vent, steam for 10 minutes. Once it starts a steady stream, you'll see that steam. I showed that in one of my other videos. That's hard water right there, guys. So, and that would be all over your jars if you didn't watch out. And I've tried my best to get that off. I don't know what to use. So anyway, this will have to steam for 10 minutes, a good steady stream of steam. And when it starts that steady stream, I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes. When the 10 minutes is up, that's when I will put this on, set this on there. But I can't do that until that 10 minutes is up of it having that steady stream. And then whenever I put this on, we'll raise this gauge up. When it gets to 11, I'm going to set the timer. I have quarts in here, and for quarts of green beans, then they have to be 25 minutes. Pressure can for 25 minutes. And at my altitude, not yours, you have to look yours up, we have to have 11 pounds of pressure on this pressure cooker for 25 minutes. So I'll be back with you guys when we pull them out, and let's see how they turned out. Hopefully I have no seepage, because I had one to seep quite a bit of water out last night too. Things happen when you're canning. It's not all fun and games all the time, but I still love it. So I'll be back with you guys soon as we go to pull the jars. Our timer went off for the 10 minutes that was steaming. We put the weight on. I was trying to think of the word weight, and Bentley said, I know, weight. Wow. When a 6-year-old can tell you what to do when you're canning. Okay, so we've set the timer now. We're setting the timer as soon as it comes up to 11. Now remember, you guys, when you're canning, wherever you are, you have got to check your altitude to know what amount of pressure, what PSI that you will set your canner to, because it's different wherever you live. So if you were living in Illinois or anywhere else, it just doesn't matter. I don't even know what Eastern Kentucky would be. Maybe the same as us, but you've always got to check check that out before you ever start canning and say, she said 11, so I'm going for 11. No, don't do that. So we're waiting now for it just to come up to 11, and then we'll be setting the timer for 25 minutes. Better than canning meat and waiting a long time on that. I don't know, I'm just kind of contemplating, am I going to enjoy this burner or not? I'm kind of worried about this burner because it's hard when you're canning on a flat top stove anyway. To me it is. Maybe some of y'all don't have a problem, but hitting that sweet spot so that you know exactly where to set your burner to keep your pressure from going up and down, because you know you cannot let it go below that 11, and you don't want it to go way up either. But if it goes below 11, then I've got to set my timer all over again. Wait till it comes back up to 11, and once again go through that whole 25 minutes, even if I just was at the end of that 25 minutes. So we definitely don't want that to happen. So I'm kind of concerned about using this burner for the first time to can on. And I think you guys that can on gas stoves probably don't have this worry, I'm sure. But when you can on a flat top stove, you do have to kind of keep an eye on it. And another thing I don't have with this canner is the weights that, I don't have that. So when you walk away from those, you can hear in the background. Now when my mom and grandma were canning back in the day, they always, that sound, as a matter of fact, is always comforting to me because I grew up hearing that all my life, them canning. My grandmother canned all summer long. But yeah, you can tell them because you can hear the change, and you can go check on it real quick. But with this canner and being on this flat top surface, and now canning on this one burner, unsure about that, but we're going to keep an eye on it and see how it turns out, and I'll let you guys know. I went ahead and I started to check all the seals on these. I had checked them to make sure the little button, you know, that will go down when they're sealed. But I'm just wiping them off and setting them right back where they are, because I will not do a good cleaning of these jars until I get ready to put them in the pantry, and I'm not going to do a little here and a little there. After all of the green beans are done, then we'll do the whole thing. But all of these have had a good seal on them, so that's a happy day, because it happens sometimes. Sometimes you will get a jar that doesn't seal. It's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to anybody that's canned very much at all. But I'm just kind of wiping them off now, taking the rings off, and then tomorrow, after the 24 hours is up, actually on what we're canning now, which I'm still on the first batch, and we'll have another canner load. And after that, then we'll wash all of these jars up good, put them in the pantry. Well, I'm telling y'all, I'm not sure about canning on this burner anymore, but then on the flip side of that, I don't want some burner getting the best of me. But it's been really hard to keep this pressure regulated on this burner. So at one point, I thought it was going to go below 11. Of course, then you turn it up and just a hair, and it starts shooting back up. So I don't know. I'll have to can on it, I guess, to find that sweet spot. But our timer's close to going off. We've got 29 seconds left on it. And when that timer goes off, I'll be turning the heat off of the stove, turn the burner all the way off. And then you've got to wait, of course, until this valve goes down and until your gauge is on 0 before you go taking the lid off of your canner. But we did make it through our 25 minutes of canning on this dual burner. Will I ever do it again? I don't know if I'll ever do it again or not. I'm fixing to have to fill this canner back up and do another load of these green beans. And I really don't know if I want to sit here and play with this burner all night or not. But then again, like I said, I don't want some burner getting the best of me. So there went our timer. I'm turning it off, and we'll let it cool down, and then we'll see how these come out. I hope I don't have a lot of siphoning on these because of this pressure going up and down, because when you have the pressure, the heat change so much inside of your canner, sometimes that can cause some serious siphoning, and I hope that hasn't happened. And the only way we're going to find out is when we get to open this canner up. So we'll see. Our pressure valve has gone to 0, and our little tab's gone down. I can take the weight off. And we're fixing to see if we've had any siphoning since I was on this little silly burner. Y'all, it's 8:55 and I still have, that's PM. Let me set this aside. Oh, Jesus, now what is it? My daughter was in here baking cookies, and there's trays of cookies everywhere going the same time I'm canning. We got all kinds of stuff going on around here. Well, I don't need these on now. All right, here comes the moment of truth. Now, if you see that water at the bottom, of course, these will settle. I'm holding this up here, but they will settle, but you still will have a lot of space when you raw pack like this. They won't be as tight. So far, they all look sealed. My water is clear. That's always a good sign. I don't have green water. That means they didn't siphon. And that was major worry, guys. Major worry for me. Because I can't stand when that happens. And it happens. All right. Now, if these lids all seal, I'll be a happy girl. But I do have another canner full going in. I'll be up late tonight getting this done. But I've got another canner full. I'll have at least 7 more quarts. And then if there's a little bit left after that, we might just have to have some green beans a couple times this week. All right, guys. We're done there. If I have time tomorrow, I'll bring you back and let me see. Well, you saw that all these, I don't want to grab one of those hot jars. I took the lids off of all the ones I'd canned last night. Haven't washed the jars like I told you, but they all sealed. So hopefully these will seal with no problem. These are a different kind of lid than I usually use, but hopefully they'll seal. And it's been a fun night, and mine's not over yet. So you guys have a good night and be blessed.
Make sure to subscribe and give us a thumbs up.